Hello everyone, how are you all doing? In this session, we will learn about multi-account management with AWS organizations. Organizations generally have multiple AWS accounts categorized based on usages such as production, development, testing, and so on. The AWS organizations service help us centrally manage all our AWS accounts across the organization, and the organizational units feature of the AWS organization service help us maintain the AWS accounts in usage-based hierarchies. Before we proceed, I am Hartin Jacob Kanagatotu. I am an author, architect, and tech evangelist. You can learn more about me or even connect with me at linkedin.com/in/Hartin. I have logged into my AWS account as the root user. I know it is not a good practice to work with root user, but I'll be using root user only for the basic configurations. Then I will be setting up IAM Identity Center. I have already set up IAM user in a different session, and later we will do most of our demos from either an IAM user or an IAM Identity Center user. Let us get started. First, we need to go to AWS Organization Service. We can search for AWS Organizations. AWS Organizations centrally manage your multi-account environment as you scale your AWS resources. Click on Create an Organization. Creating an organization, consideration for the management account. This account will become the management account for your organization. We recommend to use an account with no resources or workloads. The management account can be changed after creating an organization. Let us click Create an Organization. As we can see, we have successfully created an AWS organization. There is a message, centralize root access for member accounts. You can delete root credentials for your member accounts and perform privilege actions from the management or delegated account. We will learn about these terms soon in a different session. We can click on Enable in IAM. Remind me later. Root access management, centralized root access for your member accounts. We can delete root credentials for member accounts and perform privilege actions from management or delegated account. It improves security, it provides better compliance, and it also provides total control. Let us click on Enable. As we can see, centralized root access for member accounts, capabilities to enable root credentials management. You can delete and audit root credentials of member accounts. You can also allow password recovery for specific member accounts. Privilege root actions in member accounts. You can take certain root actions in member accounts like deleting misconfigured policies in Amazon SQS or Amazon S3. There is a note, password recovery through the forgot password flow will be blocked for root users for all your member accounts with no root user credentials. Delegated administrator for centralized root access recommended. In addition to the management account, this member account will be authorized to have centralized root access for other member accounts. This account should be a member account in the organization. We have not created any member accounts yet, right? So we'll do this later. For now, we'll click on Enable. As we can see, the current account is the management account and is the only account that is available. Next, we will create an organizational unit or OU under the root OU. Select the root OU, and from the actions drop down, we can click on create new under organizational unit. We need to provide a name for our organizational unit. I'll give as a sandbox. Click on create organizational unit. We can now create an AWS account and then move it under sandbox OU. You may be thinking why we cannot directly select it and create it there, but as you can see, there is no such option. We can click on add an AWS account. Account name, I'll give us sandbox1. Email address of the account's owner, AWS sandbox1 at cocan.ca. IAM role, organization account access role, we can click on create AWS account. We can see you submitted a request to create one or more AWS accounts in your organization. It could take some time for the account to be created, and we can try to refresh as well. As we can see, the sandbox one account is created. We can move it to the sandbox OU. By default, it will be created in the root. We don't have an option here to create an AWS account selecting the sandbox, right? But we can create a sub OUs by selecting a OU. So let us select sandbox one account, and under actions, we can click on move, and we can select the sandbox OU and click on move AWS account. As we can see, the sandbox OU has the sandbox one account, and our management account is still within the root. So we can still see this option enabled in IAM for centralized root access for member accounts. We had seen this earlier. Let us click on that again, enable in IAM. As we can see, it is already enabled. So nothing more to do here. So let us go back to AWS Organizations, and let us close this message. And if we check the AWS sandbox one email address, we can see that we have got a message. Welcome to Amazon Web Services. Thank you for creating an Amazon Web Services account. If you are unable to access AWS services, please note some services may take up to 24 hours to fully activate. We would have got another mail. Once the account is ready, your Amazon Web Services account is ready. Get started now. So I am back in the AWS console. So how do we log into this new Sandbox One account? There are two ways. We can log in through the traditional switch role option, or we can log in through the AWS IAM Identity Center option. As we haven't yet seen the IAM Identity Center option, we will do the switch role option. We can do a switch role by going to the username and then going to the switch role option. However, I did this from the root account, right? So from the root account, you will not see the switch role option. I wanted to show that as well before we move to the AWS account option and do this. I have already created an user, Hartin, and has given administrator access in a previous discussion. We can sign in as that user. Under Hartin, I can see this switch role option. I can click on switch role. I'll have to provide the account ID, which I can get from our AWS organization service. I can access it here itself. I'll go to AWS organizations service. I'm now within the Hartin user, which has administrator access, and I will expand, and I can see this sandbox one account, and I can get the account ID. I'll go back here. I'll go again to switch role. I can provide the account ID, role name, organization account access role. We can give a display name if needed, and click on switch role. Now we have logged into our new sandbox one account. Here we can go to IAM and create users if needed, and those users can log in and work within this account. We will later also see how IAM Identity Center will make many of these things easier. So let us go back to our original account. Setting up AWS Organization Service is part of the recipe Multi-Account Management with AWS Organizations within Chapter 1 of my book, AWS Security Cookbook. The recipe within the book has more than what we saw here, including how to do these things from CLI, and a lot of essential theory around these things, so that you learn not just to do things but also understand why we do these things. You can find the book in Amazon. Search my name, Hartin Kanigatottu, in Amazon in your country. You can get the second edition. Second edition is black. You can read my notes on cloud at cloudrix.com. You can see the recordings of my sessions on cloud at my YouTube channel, Cloudrix. You can find my contact information at codingarchitect.ca/contact. If you buy my book, please feel free to connect with me over WhatsApp or LinkedIn. Bye bye for now, and see you all in next class.